Okay.
And as you have undoubtedly been told now, we are recording.
All right. Good.
So we'll share this to our YouTube page for our billions of followers across the globe to hear our words of wisdom from Glenn.
I can't see a lot of our people, but we'll proceed. Good afternoon. This is the Carson Chamber of Commerce Economic Development Committee meeting. It will be virtual, but we'll start it today, Tuesday, June 20th. And this is about, we're starting the meeting at 1:03 p.m. As part of the Carson Chamber of Commerce's vision to showcase Carson, we are providing information on projects in the Carson. Glenn Acosta, he's sitting here if you're looking at it to your right, Senior Engineer, Los Angeles County Sanitation District, will present an update on the Clearwater project and answer the question of how do you build a modern tunnel? I want to see that operation. The project will improve the local waterways by addressing aging infrastructure. He will discuss costs, the 30-30 hire program potentials, and benefits of the project. The sanitation district operates and maintains the joint outfall system, the main sewer system that collects and treats the wastewater sewage from over 5 million in the Los Angeles basin. The largest wastewater treatment facility in the JOS, the Joint Water Pollution Control Plant, is in Carson. It uses 2 large tunnels to convey water to the ocean, to the Pacific. The tunnels are 60 and 80 years old. A multi-year environmental review effort began in 2006 and identified the need for the tunnels to ensure, for a new tunnel to ensure the reliability of the JOS and provide future water capacity. Before we get started, I just want to tell you that the Carson Chamber of Commerce, what we do is we have a vision, and our vision is to showcase Carson, let the community know what's going on, how long it's going to go on, and how it affects them. Our methodology is information. That means acquiring facts and information. Aspiration, we want to show how we're complying with the community's effort and desire for advancement. And we would like to encourage, through inspiration, all of the businesses and the community to grow with this vibrant community of Carson. Now I will give this to Glenn, and this is Glenn Acosta. Glenn, you're ready for your presentation.
All right, thank you very much. Let me share my screen. I think I need to be co-host first.
Yeah. Hang on a second here. Sharing operations. You may now share.
Okay, let's do that.
Sharing is always good, your mom said.
Okay. So hopefully all of you can see my screen.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. Fantastic. So before we get started, I just want to say that, I worked at the Joint Water Pollution Control Plant in Carson for about 5 years. Enjoyed my time there. Enjoyed the local restaurants. And so Carson has kind of a special place for me. And so when I talk about this particular project, it brings me a smile because I know we're doing good for the community there. So today I'm going to talk about the Clearwater project, give you an update on where we are in construction. And so let me do that by starting with a brief overview on why we're doing the project, and then get into the actual construction. So as many of you know, we manage the sewage, or what we call wastewater, for over half the population in Los Angeles County. And our plant in Carson is the hub of the sewer system that serves the southern half of the county. And here you see a video clip of it. And whether you're living in Manhattan Beach, Carson, Monrovia, Pasadena, you depend on this plant operating 24/7. And so what happens is sewage comes into the plant, and in about half a day, that gets turned into clean water, and that clean water goes out to the ocean through 2 tunnels. And those tunnels were built 60 and 80 years ago. And so the Clearwater project is about addressing this aging infrastructure by building a brand new tunnel. And so the existing tunnels shown here in the blue line, it's almost like a straight shot from our plant in Carson to Royal Palms Beach and San Pedro. But the new tunnel is kind of this squiggly line shown here in green. And the reason for that is when we did community outreach early on, folks wanted us to stay underneath the public right-of-ways, the streets, the parks. And so that's why it has all these curves. And so it's a 7-year project. We started in 2019, and the project won't be finished until 2027. The tunnel is about 7 miles long and 18 feet in diameter on the inside. So nowadays, if you're going to build a tunnel, you're using what's called a tunnel boring machine, which is shown here. So the front is what cuts away the rock and soil. The second section behind that is what puts up the walls for the tunnel. And then this long piece called a trailing gear is like a mini city that supports the front operation. And so here is how it works. So the TBM, as we call it, cuts away the rock and soil for about 5 feet. It stops and it starts putting up the walls of the tunnel. And so once it builds a ring, it pushes off that ring and goes another 5 feet, and then it starts putting up more walls. So essentially, it builds a tunnel as it digs. So we needed to put this TBM into the ground so it can start tunneling. So right next to the 110 freeway on our property there, that's where we built a shaft so we can lower the TBM into the ground and start tunneling. And so in 2 summers ago, we took the TBM in sections and lowered it down the shaft. It's about 100 feet below the surface. And at the bottom, the workers began to assemble the front piece. And then that's where it started pushing away and starting a 7-mile journey. So if you look at the shaft today, this is what it looks like. And here's kind of a view of the front part of the tunnel next to the shaft. So if you were to look at the alignment of the tunnel, it looks something like this. So this yellow line is where the machine is going to go from Carson to the beach, Royal Palms Beach, 7 miles long. We started tunneling in November of 2021. This past January, we hit the 2-mile mark. And then right now, it's on Gaffey Street, right where the Home Depot is. So if you look at the area, that's where it's at. And so we hope to be where the target is, or the 3-mile mark this summer in late July. So here's the path that the machine has taken. So it left the property that we own down Figueroa. It took a right turn underneath the 110 freeway, and then it started going underneath Harbor Regional Park. And on Machado Lake, it started making a turn towards Gaffey.
That's it.
And it went up Gaffey and has gone past the refinery already. And then, as I mentioned, it's basically where the Home Depot is today. And so sometime in the summer, it'll start making the turn underneath the Target parking lot, and going up Capitol. So
how many feet does it go a day?
It goes about 50 to 70 feet a day. And here on the left, you see the first few feet of tunnel that was built right where the shaft is. And on the right is the first mile of tunnel. So that machine I talked to you about, the tunnel boring machine, it's right here. And there's a vehicle that takes the wall segments back and forth every day. And so here's the vehicle returning from where the machine is and going back to the shaft. So you can see that there are a lot of curves in here, which is different than Metro. If you go to the Metro jobs, it's basically a straight line.
Yeah, that's what my concern was. This is straight lines when we did MTA stuff, and now
That's
you
right.
curves. Okay.
But here is designed for curves. And so we have 30 curves in the tunnel alignment from Carson to the beach.
I'm going to ask these questions right now, but what's
Yeah.
on my mind is that the Pan Pacific, when we were going out Wilshire, we ran into some gas with MTA, and
Okay.
that was an issue.
Okay, I'll mention that in a minute. So here is the wall segments being lowered down the shaft to the vehicle below. And once the vehicle is loaded, it goes out. You know, it takes about, I don't know, 40 minutes, 20 to 40 minutes to get from here to where the machine is. Unloads the wall segments and comes back. And since all the personnel go down the shaft, when there's a change in shift, there's a people holder essentially that gets lowered and attached to the vehicle, and the workers, you know, hop on, they go to the shaft, and then the vehicle comes back and it removes that people mover from the vehicle. And so here's the vehicle returning from the machine and coming back to where the shaft is. So again, we've gone 2.5 miles. We'll be at the 3-mile mark this summer. And I put my information on here as well as the person that's overseeing the construction. So so that's kind of where we are today. So with that, I'll take questions.
Any questions?
Well, that is fascinating. One question I had is, are you on schedule?
Yes, pretty much we are. We will be at the beach in either late 2024 or the beginning of 2025. And then we'll start the beach work to connect the new tunnel to the ocean outfalls. And
Okay.
that'll take about 2+ years to do.
How far are the outflows out in the ocean, sir?
So the outfalls that we have, we're keeping, and we have 4 of those. The 2 longest ones go out about 1.5 miles offshore and about 200 feet below the surface of the water. So it's pretty deep.
I have a couple of questions, if I may.
Go ahead, Ray.
One was, now you were saying that they did the staging area right there at your facility. You called it something, you know, where they dug the hole to lower everything down the ground.
Shaft,
Okay, so is that a different project? Because you guys are located below or south of Sepulveda, but there was digging going north of that, going up almost to 223rd or so.
Oh,
Was
yeah.
that your project, or was that a different project that went north, going north?
Yeah, that's a different
supposedly,
project.
I mean, Figueroa was all torn up that way. It wasn't where you're saying you started and going south. It was the other way.
Yeah, that's a different project. I think you're
Okay.
talking about the replacement of the sewer pipes
Yeah.
that up in that
Okay.
neck of the woods. So
Okay.
here is a tunnel for the treated or clean water that
Mhm.
goes from the plant to the ocean. So it's a different
Oh.
project.
Okay, okay.
But it's my understanding is that that was it's a result of a sewer break line, Nancy, that we had, and we were very happy to see the county come in and help us with that and get that done, patch it, and replace certain large and older pipes. Very much so. They were 80 years old, okay? And they replaced it, but that's a different project, Ray.
Okay.
Yes, it's a
Okay.
different project. Yeah, that sewer spill occurred was it 2 years now, towards
Year.
New Year's Eve.
Okay.
So yeah,
Okay.
we mobilized staff and we took care of things. We actually knocked on the residents' homes. We cleaned their yards. We asked them what else they would like. So
Okay.
yeah, we took care of your local residents.
So it's just kind of a coincidence that they were kind of happening in like the same area down Figueroa. Okay.
Yeah, so when you have a sewer system as large as we do, covering half of the county, there are projects in different places and sometimes they're near each other.
Okay. And then the second question was when you said clean water, okay, I guess give us the definition of clean water, because it's not drinkable water or anything, but it is clean water.
Yes, it's essentially when you look at the treated water that comes out of our plant, it looks like drinking water, but it's not to that exact level. So, and one of the reasons it's not drinking water is, number one, it's too salty, because the refineries around there, they dump their wastewater into our sewer system, giving it a little more salt than most other parts of our system. And then you have to treat it even more to make it into drinking water.
Okay.
And that's one of the projects that we're doing with the Metropolitan Water District on the Pure Water project, to take in the future what would go to the ocean, purify it, recycle it, so that we can replenish the aquifers in the region.
Okay. Okay. Thank you. Yeah, I'm new to all of this, so these terms kind of intertwine.
Yes, yes.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
What is the estimate cost of this investment in the Carson and the southern part of LA County communities? How much does this project cost?
So the Clearwater project costs about $700 million. And so we've received 2 low interest loans to help us pay for it and lower the costs, one from the state and one from US EPA, the federal government. And in having those low interest loans, we have saved the ratepayers $150 million in interest that could have occurred if we had done the traditional financing that most agencies do. So the cost is $700 million.
$700 million. Thank you. And how many people are working on your project?
It's a very specialized type of worker that's needed, but there are 3 shifts, and I think a total of around 70 or 80, somewhere in that ballpark, over the 3 shifts. We do have a PLA, so we have goals to hire from local residents. We've exceeded that. We have also a goal to hire transitional workers.
Okay.
We exceeded that goal as well. So the local community is benefiting from local jobs, as well as, you know, the workers being out there and buying food and being part of the community.
See, they have a PL, a project labor agreement with labor, okay?
Yes.
And also, during the initial, they did a lot of outreach to the community and found out that the community didn't want all the streets torn up. They wanted, that's why it's so curvy. That's the main reason. And they went by the golf course at Harvard College. I mean, they did a lot of stuff. But anyway, but it was all out of the way. That's why it's not noticeable, but it's been happening for some time.
Yes, and so the only places that you really see any work on the surface is at the shaft site in Carson and at the beach. Everything in between is underground. You can't see it, you can't hear it, you can't feel it. And so it's going by its merry way, quietly, doing its job.
Great. Is there any other questions? I'd like to hear more from the people here attending the meeting.
Well, I did want to point out that we have representatives from both of our assembly members today. So we have a representative from Mike Gibson's office and from Josh Lowenthal's office. So glad to have you two with us today, Lizeth and June.
I met Lizette, and I would know June for a long time. Yes.
So I mean, this is it's a local project, but it's regionally significant, considering how old the old pipelines are. So you mentioned about the outfall and construction of that. Well, obviously that's not a tunneling project. You don't need to tunnel through the water. So, or if you do, that's probably not the same piece of equipment, just guessing. So why is that, considering at that point, is it going to be laying a new pipeline or is it connecting to the existing?
Okay, that's a great question. So let me go and share my screen again and bring up this graphic over here. So hopefully you can see this.
Yeah.
Okay, so if you were to drive down to Royal Palms Beach, down this road and at the bottom, you have the parking lot there, and there's a fenced in area that we own. And so underneath the ground, about 20 or 30 feet, there are the two tunnels coming from Carson, and they connect to this underground structure that in turn connects everything to the outfalls. And so when the new tunnel comes in, which is coming from this direction, underneath the preserve, we have to build and modify the structure that's underground so that we can connect the new tunnel to the ocean outfalls. And so that work will take about 2 years, maybe more. And so we have, an area that we need to, lay down equipment, and the trucks coming in to bring in the supplies and so forth. And so this is kind of a rough illustration of what it's going to look like. It will probably change between now and then, depending on, the needs of the trucks being able to turn around, that kind of thing. But this is kind of what it's going to look like. We're going to have a small shaft so that we can have access to the underground structure. We can remove the tunnel boring machine from this location. So this work will go on during the week, during normal business hours. No work in the evenings, no work on weekends. And so our goal is to keep the beach accessible to the public at all times. And so that's our goal, and that's what's going to happen soon, in a couple of years.
And so just related to that, I mean, you can see right there that there's been some land movement. How big an issue is the whole lack of stability to this part of the project?
Mm-hmm.
Good question. So I know that if you go about, 3,000 feet to the east, where the White Point slide occurred, that area has different geology than this one. We've been here twice, actually, with dynamite in the 30s and 50s.
But that was just for fun.
And so But if you look at the geology here, notice that what they call bedding planes, these little lines, kind of like the filling in a cake that tells you the direction of geology. It goes upward and then inward. So that means there's no place for it to slide down. Whereas in White Point, everything was slanted towards the ocean. So once it was wet enough, heavy enough, and the right conditions were there, you can see why a slide occurred. So the geology here is very different.
That's cool. Thank you for explaining that.
Yes.
I have a question, Glenn, about the two tunnels. The one is 60 and the one is 80.
Mhm.
Are you doing any maintenance on those as you move along with this project?
So since the tunnels were installed, we have not been able to take them out of service because there's always flow going through them. And so it's like running your car without taking it in for maintenance, right? At some point, you got to do something. And so, there's always flow. So the only way to address this infrastructure is to build a brand new tunnel.
So you're not going to do any maintenance on the one, once you get the new one in, are you going to do any maintenance on the old ones?
So the plan is to put the new one in service and then inspect the old tunnels and see what kind of rehab work is going to take, how much is going to cost, present that to the board, and let them make a decision on, okay, yes, it's worth spending the money and having redundancy in this critical part of the system.
Okay, the key point for me is redundancy. I mean, you're going to develop it, but we have that infrastructure. All you need to do is just change the tires and maybe change some spark plugs and some pistons, and you're ready to go. So, you understand what I'm saying? So,
yes.
But let's get this through, then you can come back for the other piece.
Yes.
Okay. Any further questions for any of the participants in this meeting? Because I want to hear from our president and CEO of our chamber to tell us about the economic initiatives that the chamber is planning. Thank you, Glenn, for all of your support, and thank you for the information. Barry, could you give us a little information about the economic initiatives?
Thank you, everybody. Thank you.
Thanks, Glenn.
Hear around, I want you to hear.
Oh, this will only take a minute. I just wanted to mention that we're working on a job fair with Cal State Dominguez Hills and the South Bay One Stop. So hopefully we're going to be able to meet next week on that. So anyone who's interested in joining into that effort, we welcome you. And Lena has scheduled a whole slew of events coming up. We had our first mixer last month, or was it this month? Last month at IKEA, and they celebrated their 30th anniversary. So I worked on that project initially long ago, and I was telling them that the only difficulty in the construction was it came in a kit. We had to figure out how to put the store together. And anyway, we had to call the 800 number several times, but as you can see, it did work. So anyway, good things going on. We got a mixer coming up next month at Norm's, and then we're looking at something with Cal State Dominguez Hills after that. And I just talked to Chick-fil-A an hour ago, and they would still love to do a breakfast mixer there because they said people don't even know they have breakfast. So those are a few of the little things we have going on.
Well, thank you, Barry. I'm excited about what's happening. Go ahead.
The state of the district.
Oh, yes. And considering that we have our folks right here. So next month on, what's the date? July 20th, we'll do a State of the District event at the Doubletree in Carson with both of our assembly members represented there. June's wearing a tie today. That's very pretty.
I know it. Wow, who would have thought?
Been signing checks or something. Good, June. Good to see. Well, this is all.
I didn't have a question for Glenn, but I didn't have a question for him, but just listening to this presentation, this is so intriguing. And the thing about it with them listening to the community, doing those little strange turns and quirks and turns and tunneling all of this stuff, and listening to the community and saying, not, stay on your own, don't come around us or anything like that. Really appreciate that. Very community minded you guys are, Glenn. Really appreciate that.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you.
it's this is so intriguing, watch this, and the walls are going up as it's being, you could make a movie here, Glenn.
Who knows? We might.
Great job.
Thank you.
We just wanted to show the community the major investments that the city is getting, and a whole community in areas of LA County. But it's all in Carson. It's all happening here, and we want to let you know what is happening right at your doorstep. That's what we presented this information, and thank you for attending. If you don't have any other questions to our speaker or to Barry or to me, we can end this meeting at this time.
Okay, I'm going to go ahead and stop recording.